gentlemen, this is Cassius Marcellus Clay. He's young, he's handsome, they know it. I can pound a drink of water and kill a dead tree. Don't miss it, Muhammad Ali. I've done something special. I've wrestled with an alligator. I tossed it with a whale. Out of handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail. I'm gonna float like a butterfly and bang like a bee. His hands can't hit what his eyes can't see. Last week I murdered a rock, hinges a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick. Lady.
What's up, mi gente? It's Anthony Rosa, Mr. Remedy, and you are watching another show on the Round Table Remedies. And I'm so excited for tonight's show. We're talking about embracing the bumps and bruises. And what better way for Black Heritage Month to celebrate the very well-known Muhammad Ali? And I have an amazing cast for you guys today. So just wanted to give them in speaker rotation a chance to say hello. Starting first, Jerome, thank you for coming on. If you wanted to say hello to the audience.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing today?
Awesome. And then coming in second, we got my buddy Eric Estevez. What's up, E?
Anthony, man, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Of course, of course. And then anchoring us in tonight, we got my buddy Chino. Chino.
What's up, everybody? Your boy Chino Cordova. Thank you for having me on the show, and looking forward to the discussion.
Now, embracing the bumps and bruises here on the round table, we're talking about real people, real stories, and the theme for the month is gratitude. And I feel that it's very important that, you know, coming into this conversation, we start off talking about some of the legacy of Muhammad Ali. Were you guys boxer fans growing up? Did you guys watch Muhammad Ali? What was your favorite? What do you guys remember from his career?
The talking is like the number one. It's like the cleanest trash talk you're ever gonna see. But I just loved how he was able to sell a fight before the fight. He sold the fight and he won the fight before he even got in the ring, just because of how well he talked. So that was my biggest thing I loved about him. And when you went back and watched it, he wasn't like the most athletic boxer. He was just really good at like misdirection, moving around, and I love that about him. And you know, again, he just sold the fight. I just love a good fighter that can sell the fight.
Hey, what do you think about Muhammad Ali and his boxing?
Man, Muhammad Ali is one of the GOATs. You know, I think a lot of people come after him and they take their style, right? So Jerome was just talking about you know, he won the fight before he even got into the ring. And when you look at, you know, in our generation, you see Money Mayweather, right, and how he was a fast talker, right, and he wound up becoming the biggest earner in boxing history. So I think Muhammad Ali laid the groundwork not only for boxing superstars, but for athletes in general, right? So yeah. they have that confidence, and you know, and if you guys follow Muhammad Ali or see one of the several movies that are depicted about him, he's larger than boxing. He's so much more than just a boxer, man. So you know, definitely recommend anybody to go ahead and learn more about Muhammad Ali's life story.
Yeah, absolutely. Chino, what are some of your thoughts? I mean, it's definitely much more. I mean, what I heard a story that after he won a gold medal, he went out to eat and to celebrate. And during this time of segregation, they did not want to serve him. And he goes, you know, what good is it to be the America's greatest boxer and win this award? And he threw his medal into the river. And just to kind of have that, you know, fight for that human rights, you know, for me, definitely an icon. What are some of your thoughts about Muhammad Ali as we open up?
Yeah, I think that was actually my first thought, is the political adversity that he had to go through. Aside from everything else that these gentlemen mentioned, essentially what he's been through, the adversity, is something that's way beyond anything that I could even fathom. And that's definitely, you know, an accolade of a warrior. And we're going to definitely talk about that. It's a great example of adversity and rolling with those punches, because, you know, being talented and having all the fame in the world, you still have to have a proper mindset and core values to be able to overcome, especially when you have a political adversity is a whole different ball game, because that affects you in all different types of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And, today's topic, embracing the bumps and bruises, we're talking about gratitude. And, yes, I think that it's important to have an appreciative mindset, right? Have an abundance mindset. But it doesn't come easy, right? So, what do you do when you feel like life is beating you up? If at first you don't succeed, uh, they say, get back up again, right? But I say, if at first you don't succeed, you're just like everybody else, right? Practice makes perfect. And they say poor preparation plans for poor performance, right? We hear these 5 Ps, those that are in this mindset, mindfulness. Um, but I'm really excited because I'm going to list a couple of late bloomers. So if you feel that you're getting a late start, I just wanted to share some fun facts before we begin. Stan Lee, I know you guys all know who Stan Lee is. He created Marvel Universe. But did you know that he created it just shy of his 39th birthday? You know,
Didn't know
a
that.
novel artist, Toni Morrison, right? At age 40, she wrote her first novel. At 56, she won a Pulitzer Prize. And at 62, she won a Nobel Prize. So just imagine, we're going through these aches and these pains, but I'm appreciative of all the losses. And the last one that I want to talk about, Samuel L. Jackson, right? Everyone knows Samuel L. Jackson, right? But he was in a couple of roles before he had his biggest break. It wasn't until with Spike Lee, when he did Jungle Fever, he won an award for that, and that was at 43 years old, right? So
Yeah.
for some people that feel that they're stuck, I want to encourage you to embrace the bumps and bruises. So with that said, Jerome, I'm really excited to have you on and share your story. And so what is your story about embracing the bumps and bruises, and how do you appreciate what you went through to get you where you are now?
So, when you asked me to talk about this, I really thought like deeply, and I was like, how can I like make an impact? So I just decided like I'm just gonna tell you guys like a moment in my life that was like loaded with bumps and bruises. So in my early teens, I mean late teens and early like in mid 20 and like my all of my 20s, I had started two different businesses. I had some decent level of success. But by the time I turned 30, I had my first daughter, and life just kind of changed. And I got out of the business world, and I was just looking to just settle down, get a stable job, become a 9 to 5 man, right? And I was miserable in that 9 to 5 world. I was just miserable, miserable. I had another daughter, then I had another, and this by the time I was like 35, and I was miserable with just where my life was at that point. And I was just not feeling up to it at all. I was overweight. I didn't like the way I was looking. I was just like a recluse. I would just come home, go down to the liquor store, buy some wine, and then just kind of eventually just losing yourself over time because I was just sad working this 9 to 5 job and working what I was doing. And one day I just kind of like looked in the mirror and I was like, where did that guy that was like ambitious in his 20s and in his teens, where was that? Where did that guy go? And I was like, is this who I'm gonna be? Like, is this it? Like, I'm just gonna be this fat, overweight, unhappy dude working this job that I really hate. And I was just down. I was like super sad, and I didn't really know what to do. I kind of just stayed in it for a while. I just kind of was like, this is what happens. You have kids and you just lose yourself and you become fat. This is what happens, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened specifically. I started reading just like novels. I felt like I was watching TV too much. I started reading like novels, and then novels became like this book called "The Saint, the Surfer, and the CEO," and it was like a self-help book, but it was wrapped in a story, and I
Mm.
really loved that book. Every year I actually reread that book, and there was just so much things that was in that book, but it was just about like if you're unhappy with yourself, you gotta almost just be like grateful for where you are in that moment. Like, hey, I got here. This is who I am. This is how I was. I'm happy that I'm this person, and this is where I am right now. But I'm not happy to be this person, and I want to make a change. And so I just started like incrementally, going to bed earlier. I
Mm.
started reading more. I started going outside in the morning and just walking. Then I read this other book, which I kind of was like in the self help phase at this point, right? And I read this other book called The Miracle Morning, and the miracle morning was about doing these like 5 things every morning before you wake up, like journaling, exercise, visualizing, which is like affirmations, and then the other last one was like a gratitude, like doing some sort of gratitude. So I really just started doing those things every morning. The miracle morning, I did them
Mm.
every morning, and then I just started. The first, I found it hard to write the gratitude, like in the gratitude journal, like 3 things you got to write down, 3 things that you're grateful for every morning. And at first I was like, I don't know, I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful for my wife. And then you say that a couple times, and then that gets boring. And then I can't show you guys this view, but I have these very wide windows in my apartment, and I see the sun. And I used to get up before the sun, and I used to see the sunrise. And then I'm like, I'm so grateful for the sunrise. And I started being
Mhm.
so grateful for like the little things, the smallest things. And then after a while, I was writing down more than 3 things I was grateful for. I'm writing down like 10 things I'm grateful for, and it's like the
Oh,
little
my.
things, like this water that I was drinking. I was grateful for that it was cold. And before I knew it, I just started feeling happy about things. Like I said, I'm grateful for my wife. I used to write that like every morning. And then one day I walked home, like my wife had like a glow like Bruce Leroy. Like she just looked like she just had this glow around her. And I was like, why does she look so amazing? But she didn't change. Nothing changed about her. Is my perception and what my gratefulness towards her changed. And that really started helping me over and over and over. And then before you know it, I was like so pumped up. And doing that miracle morning, I was just like, it was like I was on fire every day. I was just like, oh my God, this feels great. It feels amazing. And then it led into like me started thinking like what I was trying to affirm and do affirmations and visualize, something like just started happening. I was like telling my wife, I was like, I like this Subaru Forester. We're gonna get one. She's like, no, we're not. We're not in a position to get one of those right now. And I had went to go see my brother in California, and I kind of not thinking about the Subaru at all. I kind of like passingly talked about it with my mother-in-law. I was like, "This car is so great." She's like, "It is great." Um, I come back from California, right in front of her, in her driveway was a Subaru Forester, and I'm like, "Oh, you got one of these? Oh my God, awesome!" She's like, "No, no, this is for you guys," and I'm like, "Oh my God, did I just manifest a car?" Because I was just talking about it, and these things that I would just talk about and think about just started happening
Wow.
over and over and over. So and this is like in a matter of like from being down in the dumps for like almost 6 to 9 months. And funny thing, no one tells guys they can be sad, and no one tells guys that they can be depressed. It's like you're supposed to always be strong and provide and stuff. So it took me from like being in that, and then like 6 months later I just was like on fire. And this is something that I practice every morning. I don't do all the things the miracle morning has, but I still do the gratitude journal every day, and I still write my thoughts down. And it helps me so much because it gives you a chance to appreciate just the little things in life. So though that's like one moment in my life. I was like 35, bumps and bruises, and I'm now out of the 9 to 5 world. I'm own my own insurance agency. Life has just
Woo.
completely like advanced from 4 years ago to now. So you could be listening to this and be in a moment right now and just realize that it's just a moment. And all you have to do is just do simple things like write down what you're grateful for, go for a walk. Everyone's like want to hit the gym and all that. Like, listen, the treadmill is outside your house. It's free. Just go outside and just go walk, get some sun,
For real, right?
and then and just start doing those things over and over, and eventually, you'll find what the thing is for you. But that was like my journey through the bumps and bruises, and when you asked about that, that's what kind of came to my mind, is the moment that I was like very down and very out. And again, I'm happy that I was able to share that, and hopefully that helps and resonates with someone.
Hey, well, listen, here we get a little bit vulnerable on the round table, right? The goal is to inspire, connect, and educate those that are watching. And I appreciate you being vulnerable there. We're sharing, a part of your life where, things weren't going the way that you were expecting them, and sharing with us some of the things that you were doing. I think that going to bed early uh, was a challenge. Well, for me, that I'm getting better at. What about you guys? You know, do you guys have a good routine? What time do you guys kind of start shutting down?
I'm
10,
a I'm
ten
a
thirty.
five I'm a 5 a.m.er, 5:30, and I start shutting down right around this time, right? So after this call is over, I'm I'm shutting down, right? I'm typically in bed by 9:30 ish, right?
Oh,
Because I do believe, Jerome, I empathize with what you're saying, because when you're in control of your morning, you feel like you're in control of the day, and you wake up before
yeah,
the rest of the world wakes up. So that's
yeah.
something that has been instilled in me for a long time. And I've read Miracle Morning, really good book that you recommended. So thanks for sharing your story, man. That was so dope. I appreciate it.
No problem,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Chino,
For
what
me,
about you? Oh, I'm sorry,
no, go ahead.
Jerome. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm back to a 9 to 5, so get up in the morning. I used to get up super early, go to gym and all that stuff, but that's just not possible for me. My son's last basketball game was today, so they have a lot of activities, so I don't have the luxury of going to sleep early. And then they go to sleep early, but my wife and I do have time together. Thankfully, we work together too every day and stuff like that. But I have a totally different discipline and time, but still, it works
Schedule,
for
yeah.
me. I lay down my head when I'm ready to go, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. Jerome, you were gonna say something to Eric?
Yeah, I would say I shut down at like 10:30, 11. Sleeping for me, I feel like I'm like one of those kids. I see it in my daughter too. She like feels like she's missing out on something, so she's always up.
Yep.
So for me, this thing like helped. It's like magnesium, like these pills that you take,
Yeah.
like magnesium. I take those, and then there's this oil magnesium oil you rub on the bottom of your feet, bro. In like I don't know, 15 minutes, you're like dead to the world. You're like, ugh. It works so well. So
Oh,
if you're
what?
like
Well,
You're
if
Jerome,
giving some
you're
real remedies right
one of
now.
the things, so I have the Aura Ring, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah,
so
the
this,
sleep
so this
tracker.
measures your activity and it measures your sleep. And this is something that I wear. And the first thing that I do when I wake up is I look at my app and I look at how I slept, right? And
Yeah,
it raises your sleep,
Mm.
right? And if I'm at 80 and if I slept 6 hours, I'm up. Like I don't,
yeah,
my body is rested. I'm gone, right? And sometimes if I wake up right and I'm still groggy or still like, you know what, I'll go back to sleep again. So I have this that measures my sleep because sleep is so important, and I try to
mhm.
get a good 7 hours
Mm.
a night. But this has been really helpful. The Aura Ring.
One thing I used to wear the Whoop band. One
Ooh,
thing
yeah,
that's good about that
yeah,
is that whatever you measure and track, you always get improvements in, right? If you measure your money and track your money, you get
yeah,
better at managing money. You track your sleep, you get better at sleep. It's almost like your brain gamifies everything. So one
yeah,
of
yeah.
the it's like a
Mm.
really good thing. It's a really good thing to track. So I definitely do. Not as much anymore, but like that magnesium lights out, bro.
Yeah.
That definitely brings up a good point. And with that, we can go with Eric. You know, embracing the bumps and bruises. What was a part of your life in this journey where you had to kind of embrace some bumps and bruises, and how did you persevere through it?
Yeah, listen, I think men and women, right? I think we grow when in our valleys, not our peaks. Excuse my dogs, they're
You okay?
barking in the background.
It's all right. It's all
So
right.
so we grow in our valleys, right? In the valleys, and I think when you look back and you say, okay, you know what? I've learned that I was struggling, but it's in the struggle you grow, right? When you're in it, you just want to get out of it, right? And I look at my life and I realize that. One second, my dogs are going nuts.
They're gonna need some
In the struggle
magnesium.
you grow. I like that because it's definitely, sometimes I think that people don't appreciate that part when uh, they might give up too soon, right? They say you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And I think that it reminds me of my door-to-door phase the days, right, Jerome?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. You know, the door to door, and you're pounding the pavement, and you get no and no and no. You know, you just kind of just like, ah, I just want to give up.
And,
But you got to push through. I'll give it back to you, E.
yeah, you got to push through. I'm sorry, my dogs are going crazy. But yeah, you know what? I realize that now. So I'm able to, when the lows, when we're down, when I'm down, or where there's lows, I think it's about surrendering, right, and realizing, okay, this is, it's not gonna last, it's gonna pass, and there's a reason why, right? So we can grow, right? I read a book this year of the Surrender Experiment, by
Mm.
Michael Singer, and it really talks about you surrendering and listening to the universe, right, or what's happening. And when I look back in my life, and I looked at the walls that I've hit, it's almost been like every 10 years that I've kind of hit a
Oh,
wall
is there a pattern? Okay.
pattern. And I was 21 years old, I graduated college, and I had my daughter, right? So like everything had to stop. Like I had to take care of my daughter, right? But you know what? Like now I'm having the most fun with my daughter. I'm managing her music career, right? She's a recording artist now. So like God placed her right at the right time, right? Where I didn't think I was ready for it, but it made me who I am today. And then 10 years a little later, right, I transitioned careers, right? So I went from making $250,000 a year in corporate to starting my own business and something that I had no idea about. And those first years, that's a wall, right? Because you're trying to, right, work for yourself and grind. And there were times that you wanted to quit. You say, did I make the right choice? I was making a nice living, right? Am I
Mhm.
making the right choice? But you know what? If you guys saw the Grammys the other day, Jay-Z said it, right? He said it best. He goes, you know what? Like, all you gotta do is just show up, right? Keep on showing up. Don't quit until they call you the GOAT, until they call you a genius, right? So it's really about saying, okay, you know what? Persevering and pushing through. And then it helped me reach the next phase of my life, which I control my time, and I made more money than I've ever made before, right? But then I'm in my third wall right now as we speak, right? Because the mortgage industry has been changing, and I thought the trajectory of my growth was going to be go point A, but I'm realizing, you know what? No, it's going this direction. And the thing is that I've learned from the last two walls and transitions that I've had in my life, that I have to be more in tune with what the universe is telling me, right? I have to listen to God more, right? And say, okay, this is what it is. Because like a lot of times people try to fight the signs and go against the grain. And I think
Mhm.
as we get
Mm,
older, we age more with grace, right? Because we say, maybe this is what this is the path that I'm trying to go in, and I'm still doing well in my career. But I thought I was going to go and be a big recruiter and have a large team underneath me and this and that. When I realized, you know what, I'm just going to be a lone ranger, focus on my daughter's career, right? Do it, and then have to restructure my business, right? Because which it just happens, in Chino's in this industry as well. It's a tough market and a tough industry, and a lot of people, right? Like I was just at a call today where there's been a 61% attrition rate, right, for loan officers. 61% haven't renewed
mm,
their licenses, right? Now there's opportunity for go-getters like us, that we're gonna go and we're gonna get that business, right? But it's changing. But you know what? I going back from gratitude, and I've learned, like I have my journal, right? Every day I write in my journal every day, right? And it's just like Jerome was saying, is starting the day with saying, I'm grateful that for this, even if it's a small
mhm,
thing. I'm grateful that my son wanted to go and work out with me today. I'm grateful that me and my daughter had a great meeting about her career today. I'm grateful. And when you're grateful about those things, it's true. Start manifesting it. And then you know what? The big things, right, that you think are bogging you down, they're really not big things, right? The big things are the things that you're grateful for every day. And I really another book that I recommend is The Gap in the Gain, right, by Dan Sullivan, which
Mhm.
really has shifted mindset because, right, if you live in the gap, you're never going to be fulfilled, right? You always look at the glass, right, half empty, right? You got to live in the game, right? Why is this happening? Live in the game. And I feel really calm because even though the revenue isn't coming in as much as it was 2 years ago, right? You know what? I'm calm because I feel like every 10 years when I've made decisions, I've elevated my life to the next level, and I feel like I'm at the cusp of that again, right? I think it's bumps and bruises that we've been going through for the last, I don't know, 18 months or so with the market. You know what? But I feel good. I feel like, you know what, I'm surrendering to this. My daughter with her career. Who knows? I may leave the mortgage industry and become a music and become the next P Itty, right, or whatever, right? So that way, that I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is the direction that I'm gonna go in. But I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to work alongside my daughter. I have the opportunity to go work out with my son, to go through 100 balls a day with my son for his football. Like, I have the opportunity to do that. So when you look at that, man, there's a lot of people that look up and will say, I would like that. I would like to have that opportunity
Yeah,
to do
absolutely.
that. So you got to be grateful
Yeah.
for it. And you know what? When you have that mentality, when you do go through bumps and bruises, it's a lot easier now, right? Like when I didn't take it well at 21 or 25, right, or 30, right? But now it's like, you know what? This is God's will. And when you give good to the universe, you know you're gonna get it back, right?
Mm.
But you gotta listen. I think a lot of times, right, in our 20s and 30s, we're men's in our early, late, mid to late 30s and 40s here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of you.
Bro, we were knuckleheads most of our life. We were knuckleheads most of our life. We were trouble most of our life, right?
For
I
real.
think now is when we're realizing, okay, I think we're growing now. You mentioned these late bloomers, Anthony, but they're not late bloomers. They were working all their life until that point, right? So some people say they became overnight successes. No, they took your whole life to become an overnight success. And I think that's where we're at right now. And when you realize that, and you're healthy, right? And there's people around you that love you, and you can show love because you're here every single day. You know what? Like those other problems, whether it's monetary or career or whatever, that's only one spoke of the wheel, right? So if you guys read Zig Ziglar's Born to Win, life is a wheel, right? And you have all these
Mhm.
different spokes, right? Health, finances, relationship, right? If if you balance it and have good spokes, right, your ride through life is going to be a smoother life, right? Because if
Mhm.
one of those spokes are broken, it's going to be a little uneven. It's going to be a rougher ride. So our
Exactly.
job is to try to, right, make sure that the spokes in the wheel are being taken care of always, and be grateful, right? So that's how I look at it, man. It's listen, we get frustrated. We why am I not here? Why am I not there? Right? Why am I not here with my goals? I wanted to reach this, but we got to just wake up every day, show up, plan, and I think things are gonna work out, man.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love the recommendations for the books that are coming out. That Jerome and Eric, you guys are referencing all these books, and if I'm honest with myself and I'm being very vulnerable, I don't read books as much as I'm that audio. And it's been a clutch of mine, and so I'm writing these books down, and I'm gonna push myself. Um, because when I find that when I find and make the time just to kind of like quiet the noise and I make time to read, I enjoy it. But when I think about reading, I get overwhelmed just the thought about reading, and then I just don't do it, or I'm too busy and I make up all these excuses. So, what are some of your habits on finding the time to read? Because it seems like you guys have a
Most,
good
So,
routine. Jerome?
listen, audible. Oh, go ahead, Jerome. Sorry, go ahead.
so for me, I go through waves, right? I can read like 4 books in 2 months or a month, and then not read anything for like 3 months, right? So for me, what I always do is I find books that I actually like. So I'm a big biography person, and I also like what they call it, urban fiction or urban novels. Like it's all like these gangster stories, right? Like I love reading those fiction books because they get me back going and reading again. So when before I start reading like an autobiography or a memoir or anything
Mhm.
like that, I'll just go and read like a urban lit book, like it's about gangsterism in Detroit or whatever the case may be, drug dealing. I just like the stories because they're just fun reads, and it gets me back to reading again. And I just like reading. But one of the things that I do is I make it no pressure. So I say I'm gonna read 2 pages a day. Like that's it. That's my
Mm.
commitment. 2 pages a day. I always read more than 2 pages, but if I just make the commitment to 2 pages, it's so minuscule that it's like it doesn't seem like a decision that you have to make, because you're like, man, if I have to read this book, I got to read a chapter. No, I'm just gonna read 2 pages. And some days, to tell you the truth, I just read 2 pages. Great, I read 2 pages, I'm done. Or the other time, just like it catches me, and I'm at this part that's super interesting, and I'm like, I can't stop now. I'm 2 pages in. I got to keep going. Next thing you know, I'm 3, 4 chapters in at that point. So just try to make it like a very, very low barrier to get into, and then put a very, very small timeline on it. Because once you put something small on it, it'll catch you, and you just go from there. And I keep my books with me. I'm in the car. Sometimes we're in
Oh
between
wow.
meetings or whatever. I always have the actual physical book. You're waiting, you're in a meeting, you're waiting for someone else to come or whatever the case may be. I'll just take the book then. It's like it's the iPad before the iPad. It's the phone before the phone.
Right,
It doesn't need
right.
battery. It doesn't need batteries or anything to work. Just open it and read it. So, and I just
I,
make it very, very low decision making for me.
I can't. I don't
Thank
read
you.
physical books. I fall asleep right if I read physical books. I'm more of an audible guy, right?
Yeah.
And one what helps, Anthony, is waking up early in the morning, right? You
Hmm.
have time for yourself to do that because once the
Oh,
world wakes
I'm
up.
an early bird. Yeah, I'm pushing. Yeah, I'm there.
But what I've been doing lately, and this is why like I'm on my fifth book this year, is the gym, right? So like I lost like my misogi. This is something that I learned too. Is I love planning, and I have something called the Big Ass Calendar by Jesse Eitzler, and one of the things he talks about is, hey, what is your misogi, which is a Japanese term for the one. I don't know if it's a one thing or
Like that one thing. Mm.
what's your goal this year? What is the one thing that when you look
If
back,
you
you're gonna say,
accomplish that, accomplish everything.
2024, that's what I did. And for
Hmm.
me, it's losing weight and getting healthy. So my misogi is to lose 43 pounds by 43. I'm going to be 43 in June. I lost 16 pounds in January. What I did was I
Woo!
did something called learn and burn. So I'm listening while I'm on the treadmill, right? Or while I'm lifting. So that's how I'm listening my book. I'm knocking out two things at once. I'm lifting and I'm in the zone and reading and learning. So
Yeah.
learn and burn, that's something that has helped me this year so far.
Yeah. If
Oh,
you're
that's
talking
a
about
great
audio, if you're
takeaway. I
talking
like
about
that.
if you talk about audiobooks, I always mix it with something else, right? Like I do meal prep for the whole week because my wife, like, she can cook great, but she just makes everyone stressed out when she cooks. So I always like, no, you know what? I'll just meal prep for the whole week. And like so Sundays I'm in the kitchen like for like 4 hours, and I'll just like the kids know, like, don't bother daddy. He's in like his place. And I listen to podcasts, listen to audiobooks. I like kind of catch up on everything. But I'm also cooking, so it's not like I'm just like I'm doing two things at once. I'm learning and doing
Mm.
something else. So always mix it with you going to one meeting to meet somebody, put it on in the car, and while you're driving, you're doing something else while doing it. It's great for working out because you start off slow, and then you can switch the music towards the end for like the high intensity part of it. You just go like,
The strategy.
30 minutes on the 30 minutes on the book, and then like last 10 minutes Jay-Z hardcore, like just go hard.
Chino, what about you? What are your thoughts? Are you like in the books? Like, how do you get your data? Do you like to read? Do you listen to it? Do you struggle with that as well? I struggle with that, like I shared. So, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I've always struggled with reading a book cover to cover. I'm more of a Google guy. I go and if there's certain what I like to do is I listen to a lot of podcasts, and if they mention any
Mhm.
type of books, I would actually search the book and then get like a diagram or a summary on it. I'm really
Mm.
good at just ingesting information really quickly and disseminating it. And then I also like doing like diagrams, blueprints, uh, anything that's kind of visual where I could just scan through it and I understand diagrams really quickly just by a glance, and that's a way that I retain information much quicker. I have to be able to do that quickly because in my field, what I'm doing now is training agents, and to get them out of their own way to adapt, and certainly everything that we're speaking about is peeling away those limiting beliefs. So I have to do a lot of psychology stuff, um, and basically try to crack the code on how to get to their why and things of that nature. And it becomes very deep, and there's so many types of books but I like to just get down to the core values and be able to understand those and articulate those, because you can only learn so much, but the matter is that majority of people read at a seventh grade level anyway. So I mean, but I'm super nerdy when it comes to all that stuff. If I want to learn to do something on my car or whatever, I'm really good at following videos and things of that nature. Not really a book guy. Do a lot of Audible as well. So yeah.
Well, no, hey, look, again, in the round table, we're real people sharing real stories, and there's different ways to do it. And I like whether you're starting with something and then transitioning to a book like a documentary, or you're learning
I
and
love
burning,
documentaries.
or
Yeah.
you're breaking down the bullets, right? I'm a bullet guy too, so I would love just a quick synopsis and boom, 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 and like, oh,
Yeah.
I get it. Wow, that sounds like a good book.
Yeah.
So I took a lot of points tonight on just that, and
Yes.
sharing my weakness, right? I think that appreciating some of the weaknesses and sharing that in the public setting, right, where the three of you I consider my peers, my friends, mentors. Iron sharpens iron, they say. And if I don't share my weakness and things that I'm struggling with, then how am I going to get feedback from those that I know, like, and trust? So I appreciate that. With that said,
Yes.
Chino,
Also,
embracing the bumps and bruises, share with us a story or a time in your life where, you were transitioning and you had to embrace some of those bumps and bruises.
Well, that's been all my life. I think I kind of give you like an overview of the processes, which are much the same as Eric's and Jerome's, where pretty much I always tell people, you're not going through it, you're growing through it. Um, and gratitude, when there's people that choose gratitude as one of their core values, I think that's definitely like a precursor to uh, lay out self-control. Because Eric has a couple of chapters in his life where he had to rethink things, right? And throughout our life, we never know what's going to come, right? We're not in control. And that could be overwhelming. That could be frustrating. It could be demoralizing, in any sense of the word. And some people just don't know how to cope with that. So we're always looking for ways to kind of like a computer. When a computer gets a virus and starts to bog down, I always use that analogy where if you want to operate on a higher operating system, you have to obviously control alt delete the way you thought before, and then you have to insert new software, and that be the core values. You have to rethink your core values. You have different influences. You think differently. Maybe you write down whatever works for you. There'll be a belief system, and that tethers to your why. Eric being his daughter at one point, and now it's just the time that he has with them. So throughout our lives, I think that why changes, but it's very important to have those core values wrapped around that, especially influence as well. The people you hang out with, the food that you eat, the information that you take in, even time to reflect, me time, working out. All those things are definitely something that's going to complement your state of mind. Without those, I don't think you could even get to the point of being appreciative. So that's how it's been throughout my life when I have to. That's why I always use the adapt and conquer. You know, that's the title for my entire life, because we kind of do that all the time, no matter what. Whether it's a new job and then we have COVID come in and then we get hit with this market. We always got to hit the reset button. And there's no easy way to do it, but Once those core values are put into place, and you really hunker down and you take a look at yourself and you use that, it's like the bottom will always look better at the top of the mountain. And I think that's really important. Where people have to embrace that, let fear take a back seat, and just understand that every failure is not a failure; it's a win. It gets you closer to the finish line. So that's pretty much what I've understood over time. And every time that I
Yeah,
get
absolutely.
a lot of realtors that who experience fear, experience doubt, you know, and they realize that the person in the mirror is really the only person that's against them at the moment. Everything else is secondary. We can't control everything, and once you realize that, I think you start being grateful for the little things, and that's what counts.
Yeah, that fear, right? They say false expressions appearing real, right? That's what fear stands for. And, you're talking about you're not going through it, you're growing through it. I love that saying, Chino. And you just did this big transition yourself, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? How was that transition? Because I know just doing that and the moving process and the school and the family and this and that, there's some bumps and bruises along the way.
Oh, it's
So,
huge. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
please share.
just a total, lifestyle change from Jersey to Ocala. I live in the horse capital of the world. And it's totally different lifestyle out here. I guess the shirt kind of like, give you an idea of the type of lifestyle that's out here, but it's totally different. But once again, I had to sacrifice a lot. I think the moment when I surrendered it all, and one of my beliefs. Everyone has different beliefs, and I don't want to push, the religion thing. But man of God, and I think once I was able to just hand it over to Him, a huge weight off my shoulders was lifted, and I feel like I was exactly born again. And all the worries, all the other stuff, just kind of, I had peace of mind for the first time in my life. And it happened once again, probably at my rock bottom. And then it didn't matter how low I was getting up every morning and my first thought was the gratitude part. Everything down to, the gray hairs, my kids running around fighting, screaming, everything. It didn't matter what it was. It was like I'm grateful for it. And I did experience what Jerome experienced too. There was times when I would come back from work and my house would be glowing, or I had certain things that had an aura about them, and I saw life through a different lens.
I appreciate that because I think that you don't have to wait to get to a point where you're tired of being sick and tired, right? You don't have to wait to that breaking point, right? It's okay to embrace the bumps and bruises as we're sharing here. We got to adapt and conquer, right? We have to push ourselves to do those small commitments, create those routines, right? So those that are watching, I would like to ask you a question. Please like, share, comment, and engage with us, right? Are you going through a time in your life where you kind of feel stuck? Or have you hit that pattern, right? If you've recognized that you're going through every 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. Eric, it's funny that you're saying that you're going on a weight loss journey. For me, I feel like every 2 years I go up and down in my weight. And I'm proud to say that I am close to 800 days dry. I cut alcohol out of my routine,
Job.
completely changed my life. Now I can wake up earlier in the morning and, hit the gym at 5:15, 5:30 and, and come home and embrace the time with my kids. And, I'm glad that we were sharing all this, right? Because here on the round table, we'd like to share and be vulnerable at the same time. And you never know what remedies might come out. So now is the time where, it's bittersweet, but we're gonna go over a final thoughts portion of the show. And in speaker rotation, you know, we aired out a lot of gems tonight. We aired out a lot of remedies, I should say, right? Uh, in the final thought segment, this is your opportunity to kind of just share what are some of your final thoughts on tonight's show. Jerome?
Um, when I read this a while ago, it says, "Whatever you complain about, God gives you more of it." Right? So, because you haven't learned the lesson from that situation yet.
Mm,
So, if you're sitting around complaining about it, you're going to keep getting more of it because you're pretty much just saying, "Hey, I haven't learned this. Keep giving me more until I learn whatever this is." So just know that whatever you're complaining about is going to consistently keep on coming back to you. So you can always just make the change. And, like again, everyone always overcomplicates it. It's really simple. Just do something different than you are doing. That's it. To start there. You can't do anything else. It's like, I don't got a gym, my membership. Like, go outside and walk. Like, you can always do a push up. Like, you can always do a squat. Like, those things are free. Like, you have all the things that you almost need already to kind of get started. I remember I was telling a friend of mine, he was like, "Yo, I can't get this book. I don't got the money for this book." I was like, there's this thing in America called a library. I was like, it's free books. They just give them out. Like you could just go get them and take them and read them forever. So it's like you can always find a way. So that's like my final thought. Just know that whatever you're unhappy with, you can always change. And to get started doesn't cost you anything. It never does.
That's true. Thank you so much, Jerome. Thank you for coming on and thank you for sharing. Eric, what are some of your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think you got to just keep on showing up, right? That's half the battle. You don't lose until you quit, right? So you might be 3 feet from gold right now, right? If you're going through some things, and if you don't know that story reference, look it up, right? It's you're gonna stop digging, but you're so close and you don't know it, right? Because we don't know what's in front of us. But you got to just keep on going, and if you do wake up and keep on going every single day, and start your day off with gratitude, you're going to start seeing that your whole mindset, your universe is going to continue to shift. So continue showing up, and you know what, we any one of us right now, we're young enough to go and become an actor like Samuel Jackson, and who knows, we might be Oscar winners in 10 years, right? So the fact of the matter is
I
that
think
it's
you're
never
manifesting some stuff on tonight's show, Eric. That's what I
right.
think.
Well, yeah, I don't know about acting, but what I'm saying is that it's never too late, right? Keep on showing up, and I think you and surrender to life, right? Meaning, don't give up, right? But just surrender to the communication where the universe is taking you, because when we go against the grain, that's when we're gonna have more struggles.
Just keep on showing up and don't give up. Thank you so much, Eric, for sharing that. And then anchoring us in on some final thoughts. Chino.
yeah, I would say, you know, the old cliche, like things happen for a reason. And in retrospective, every time that I look back, and you know, you always say like, the worry was always uh, more than the problem. I worried more than the problem. So
Mm,
it compounded, and it created so much distress, and it happened for a reason, and that reason was something that ended up to be positive anyway. And so I always say, expect the unexpected, embrace it, because sometimes things do happen for a reason. They're out of your control, and once you start getting into the habit of just accepting that and saying, okay, um, I'm going to be grateful anyway, you open a door for things to happen, and that thing is called grace. And I think that grace is definitely something that's, when you start seeing that, when you start seeing that happen, it doesn't matter how bad the situation is going to be. You're going to smile and be like, all right, what do you got for me now? What do you got for
mm.
me now? I got this. And it comes this spiritual habit. Even my wife says it, like, man, what's next? I'm like, it's all right, bring it on. I was like, can you believe this? And we just look at each other and just laugh. And then before you know
Mm.
it, something happens. That's a breakthrough milestone. And we just laugh. We just, all right, break out the modelos. Let's celebrate, because the entire time, we were at ease, and we're doing exactly what Eric said. We just said like this, here's my problems. Here you go. I'll take care of that. And when we do that, the doors open, baby. That's just the way it is.
I think you got to embrace it, just like you said, right? And I appreciate you guys coming on and sharing. I'm so thankful. Shout out to those that are watching. If you stayed on this long, note takers are money makers. I was definitely writing down notes the entire time. And shout out to our spouses, right? Shout out to our wives, handling the kids and the dogs and everything right now this evening
My
at
wife was
9
just texting me.
p.m.
She's like, "Yo, you got to pick up your daughter." I'm like, "I'm on a live show right now, man."
Shout
I
out to
said,
our
"I'm a little
spouses.
vulnerable right now, man. You gotta chill."
Yo, I always like to close the show with a closing quote. It's by Muhammad Ali, of course, and it says, "I hated every minute of training, but he said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. Go in grace, go in peace. This is Anthony Rosa, Mr. Remedy, and you are watching another show on the Roundtable Remedies. Speakers hang out in the afterglow. Talk to you soon. Peace."